There we go. All right, we have you now on the screen. So thank you, Rob, for being patient with me. So how's it going? Like, how did that campaign? How's your first experience of the campaign?
Well, it's it's a roller coaster. I spoke earlier today about being unprepared for what we always talk about, the trolls, the
Right.
negativity. I'm just I try to be an upbeat person, and the attacks were tough. Some of that's hard, but outside of that stuff, um, I enjoy it. I enjoy messaging back and forth with backers. Um, I've tried to be active in our comments and such. And in my situation, we were caught off guard, shall we say, at the last minute, and I had to pick up the pieces and really ended up doing. While it was a 33-day campaign, it turned into about a 21-day campaign, and then a lot of that marketing didn't grind back in until a little later into that second week. Um, I had a marketing firm, and we can talk a little bit about how we set up marketing and things like that for campaigns. I'm happy to discuss that. Uh, that I ended up doing everything on my own at the last minute. I won't go into the who's and whys, but and so that put us off guard. They say, Jamie talks about Stegmeyer talks about not hitting that launch button until you're ready. Well, I built a page on my own on the fly very quickly, and we had marketed for 9 months that this was our day, this was our day, this was our day, and so I went ahead and launched. And I think had I waited, I might not have learned some of the things that we've learned by go ahead and launching, and so there's value there. My girlfriend, she tells me, she goes, win or lose, success on this campaign, you have learned so much, and you do learn a lot through that. And we could talk about the community and being out on the road and all those things. So,
So what would
I'll
you
kick it back.
say is some of the major takeaways you've actually learned from, running this first campaign? Because this was, your first one. So it was a labor of love for you to get this game seen, but running Kickstarter is, as a lot of people have said in the past, especially famous people who are experts at marketing on it, saying it's the Wild West. So
Yeah, it is for sure. Um, it is the Wild West. I'm a business guy, so from a business perspective, I wasn't surprised by the business requirements. I think a lot of guys. I just listened to, was it Richard's podcast today for Level 99 games, and they talked about being surprised at the business level of things. I had the business acumen down. I'm a business guy, so that wasn't the problem. It was the disconnect between what you think you know and then how things work in the Wild West, right? So if I'm in Arizona, so right down the street is Tombstone, Arizona. And if you remember Tombstone, you've got Wild Earth, and you've got all of that, the shootout at the OK Corral, and being in the Wild West, you expect some semblances of law and order, but they don't always show up that way. So that was certainly interesting as well. It is the Wild West. You are correct.
all right, and so with knowing that it was a whole new experience, and even though you come in with this great amount of background, what do you feel you were the most unprepared for?
Okay. On the fly reach, and because I had to do so much on the fly, and we're still doing so much on the fly, um, learning that on the fly reach, what I mean by that is not only how to do Facebook ads, where to do Facebook ads. We can all, if you have a business page, you can promote your post right there in Facebook. Well, there's also business.facebook.com, and that's the business manager for Facebook. And while I've done thousands and thousands of dollars inside of the Facebook side, you spend $2,000 on the business manager side and you get greater return. So, not understanding that there are two sides of even the Facebook that we love so much. That being said, other avenues of online marketing that have blown Facebook away in terms of impressions and clicks. And so, trial and error, A/B testing, where you take one ad and you put it into two places, or you take one ad and you use two separate groups to market to. Standardize things in the business world, and you hear about it, but until you have to do it, and you have to understand how that works, and then you have to see the dollars click off with no results to say, you know what, B's not working, I need to move back over here to A. That's something that I had to learn on the fly. And so many of the big campaigns are 3rd, 4th, 11th, 17th different campaigns that they've run, because they've gone through that loop. And then smaller first-time campaign guys, either they've come out of that entity, so they already know it, or they're like me and they have to figure that out, whether you have to hire somebody or you have to learn it on the fly. And trying to learn on the fly is shooting a moving target. And I'll give you this example. Our Kickstarter window is 30 days or 21 days or 33 days, whatever it is. Every day, your target is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And so you're still trying to hit that customer or that backer, that consumer, on this ever increasing smaller target. That's a challenge. We went out 13 different, and we could talk about the conventions whenever you want, but we went to 13 different conventions, and I've got a lot to talk about there and that interaction as well. But I believe, because we're dealing with that moving target, there are some ways I would have done it differently. And when you're ready, we can talk about that.
Yeah, so let's first talk about your face-to-face interaction and word-of-mouth marketing strategies you did. Like you said, you started 9 months ago,
right?
And doing this to get your name out there, which in standard type of brick and mortar retail, that would have worked just fine.
Correct.
Do you feel like you could have done more in doing that and going from face to face, or actually just tell me about the convention experience altogether?
Okay. End question first. Can you do more? No. You can't do more than 13 conventions in 9 months. You just can't. We talked about how far I've flown and how many miles we've driven. It's being away from home. It's being the only guy, the last guy out the door, literally, sometimes the very last person to leave the entire facility. It's because some of it I did on my own. Some of the larger events, the PAX, and the Gen Con, my dev team would go out with me. But as far as some of the smaller regional events, I'm by myself. I'm pulling a trailer, I'm setting stuff up, and it's a day to get there. It's a 4-day event. Then it's a day to get home, and so you're gone a week at a time. When I would fly to the Midwest to grab, I have a house out in Indiana. As I would grab my trailer, if it was a East Coast event, I would leave my trailer and my SUV there in Indiana. So you fly to Indy, that's a day. Now you drive to Boston, that's another day. Then you have a 4-day event plus your setup day. So that's 7 days. Then you're driving back home, that's 8 days. Then you're flying back to where I live in this case. So I have 2 places. It's 10 days at a time. And there's just not enough time to do that kind of convention. I enjoy conventions. I love talking to people, right? I could talk all day. But you can't do more. It's impossible to do more. So let's talk about the quality of the conventions. Some of the little guys aren't going to like to hear this, but it's a challenge to bring in a large setup into a small convention, and because your economics don't change per the size of the convention. Your hotel costs are pretty much a hotel cost. Gasoline is pretty much gasoline. Time to get there is pretty much time to get there. So there could be a show with 500 people, or it could be a show with 200,000 people. and I've done both. And from an economics perspective, it just doesn't unfortunately pay to hit those small regionals. Now, people will tell you, and I read all the books, I read everything, because this is a 2-year journey, even though I started marketing at that 8-9 month mark, Gen Con in August. That a smaller event, well, you can make it higher quality because you get to touch people. If you touch 100 people at a small event and you touch 50 people at a large event, which was better? Well, of course, the 100, but it doesn't work that way. You've got this law of large numbers, and the law of large numbers says the bigger the group, the more opportunity you're going to have for those particular touches. And so the large events are going to love what I have to say, and the small events are going to go, oh, okay. That's why we don't do that international or national draw like some of the big guys do, because the big guys know the economics don't pay on the little ones. That being said, economic wise, face-to-face wise, man, I love these guys. The people that sit down and play, especially this game, because it's transformative. No one who plays comes away and says, I didn't like that. In fact, we've got posts on the campaign right now of 2 separate individuals that didn't even play, but sat for 4 hours and watched. Show me a game where someone's going to sit for 4 hours and just watch at a convention that they've paid to attend. So that's just mind-blowing for me. So the people that you interact with, those people, Marco, they don't change. Whether it's a 200,000 person event like Gen Con, it's an 80,000 person event like PAX East, 45,000 PAX Unplugged, 65,000 PAX South. So that's Boston, Philly, Indianapolis, San Antonio, or 500 people in the Midwest at FlatCon, or 400 people at RenCon in Tucson, Arizona, 2,000 people at SaltCon in Salt Lake City. The people don't change. So the people are all great. All of them are great, regardless of the size. And so small game guys that can take advantage of those smaller venues, please continue to do so. If you got a $29 game, man, that'll do you well. If you got a huge investment in a huge game, then you have to have those eyes. And that's why CMON is at the big events. That's why Intel is at the big events. Discord is at the big events. Geico Gaming, who the hell knew Geico had Geico Gaming? They were at PAX East. The big guys know they have to have the eyes. And the people don't change. The people are all great. And it's the same amount of people. It's just the law of large numbers. The bigger your game, the bigger your requirement, the requirement on yourself to make sure that you're going to the larger events. And so that's what I learned, because the time doesn't change. If I spend 10 days to go to an event that has 1,000 people, I spend 10 days to go to an event that has 80,000 people, what 10 days were better utilized? I got a real supportive family, so she's great. She's a business owner. I'm at work. I'm out at different conventions. She's at work. That works for us. I'm fortunate enough that I have a grown son and grandkids, and I don't have to worry about that. This is my full-time job, but that isn't the case for everyone. Most people aren't going to go out to a different convention each and every weekend, or 2 weekends a month, or even 1 weekend a month for 9 months straight. We're at $5,500 just to go to PAX East. That's the 20-foot booth and a house rental for the 6 days that we were in Boston. $5,500 doesn't include fuel, food, or flights. Food, fuel, or flights, because I drag a trailer to get there. That's a huge investment, which I would tell you that most small game designers probably don't even have that kind of money. My business life prior to this allowed me the economics, so the economics haven't been a problem. But we've spent a lot, and we haven't gotten the return that most businesses would expect for that outlay either. So there's some disconnects there for sure.
Right. And so what did you guys do to keep audience retention after making that initial, point of contact? Because, a lot of them some of them you hit 9 months before, some you hit 6 months, and then, they have to wait that extended period of time before actually seeing a product. Did you accumulate a mailing list or have them follow you some way to keep their interest going? Because over time, in standard, practices of marketing, if you don't have something for them to tangibly get within a time period, they forget about the product.
Right. So what you find is, you're exactly right. You have to stay in front of them. And what I chose to do was to do sponsored Facebook posts, to the tune of lots and lots of money. I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars to maintain presence over 9 months. And Facebook's a bit of a racket. Once you start, you can't stop, because it's almost like a forced drug. And I'll give you my analogy. I'm not the addict. Facebook is the addict, and I need the results. And so when you first start posting paid ads, when you post something that's not boosted, you don't get return. It's like no one sees it, because on a page, not a personal page, but on a business page, it tells you how many times people have seen that post. And if I don't boost a post, it may get 10 views in 4 days. It may get 17 views in 2 days. If you boost a post, it'll get 100 views a day or 1,000 views a day. It just depends. Facebook will get their money. So the more money you put towards that daily view, they will make sure that they get their money. You can say, I want to spend $2 a day. You can say, I want to spend $200 a day. And we've done both. And sometimes the $2 a day, you're going to generate 22 clicks. $200 a day, you may generate 222 clicks. No boost, you're not going to get any clicks, because Facebook isn't going to deliver your page to people's inbox. They're not going to deliver your page to their feed. And that's something that, shame on Facebook a little bit on that. So a lot bit, actually. So that's what we did. We did boosted ads, boosted posts inside of Facebook. However, I come to realize the world isn't on Facebook. We think they are, but they're not. We've got your guys' group, Board Game Revolution. We have 31,000 people there. But how many of those also are on Haven? How many of them are on Spotlight? How many are on Expose? I would say probably the same 31,000. There's not a lot of bleed over. There's just smaller subsets of that same 31,000. So in that regard, that's one way. Second way, we did the same thing everyone else does and collect emails. I have 4 iPads, color specific actually, for the races. And if you played the blue race, I gave you the blue iPad. If you played the yellow race, I gave you the yellow iPad. And just give me your email address. I'm not going to spam you. In fact, I didn't send out any emails at all until the campaign was live, because I told folks I wouldn't. I said, I won't spam you. You share with me your email address. Once I'm live, I'll send it out. And then we had that situation with our marketing company that left us holding the bag. And I didn't send them an email until the first week was over, because I had to work on getting the page right before I wanted to use that ammunition. I didn't want to have them come and see something less than what they expected to see. And I took that very personal. And so we collected emails. That being said, I think we did a shitty job, if I can say that. Sorry. I think we did
it's okay.
Yeah. I think we did not a good job collecting emails, because that's not something that you really, here, give me your email address. You like what you see? Give me your email address. It becomes a little more business and a little more standoffish, and that's not what I'm about. I'm about creating relationships. You and I have a good relationship. Everyone who's ever touched this, we have a good relationship. I had a guy email me yesterday. can you send me the picture you took of us back on March 2nd? Well, sure, let me go find it. And I messaged back from OverBattle, and he goes, you may not have it, but Rob has it, because he didn't realize I'm the guy checking the emails on OverBattle.
Mm-hmm.
And so we build that relationship. We did collect emails. We use an email provider to then send out some messages. That being said, inside of MailChimp, it tells you, that's our email provider that we're using, statistics based on your industry. And our gaming industry has a 2% click rate. I'm at 17%. Our industry has a 17% open rate. So it was like 17 point something and 17 point something. And I have a 38% open rate. And so I feel like my people, my army that I built out on the road, they're still engaged, but I got this moving target. I've got this decreasing time that I'm asking them to stop what they're doing in their worlds and come and take a remembrance, come down that valley of remembrance with me and remember playing the game. Oh, yeah, I remember. Oh, that's great. Oh, they're on Kickstarter right now? I don't get paid till Friday. Or they're on Kickstarter right now. Let me go ahead and back that pledge. And so those moving targets, you have to collect the emails. I think if you do the emails right, your return statistically could be very good. My open rate statistically is fantastic. My click rate statistically is fantastic. That doesn't necessarily turn into pledges. I would say a lot of my people who I have as backers probably were people on the road who experienced it. Everyone that sees it posts about it, they talk about it. Everyone that's played it, from reviewers on down, all glow about it. How do I translate that to those people who haven't seen it and haven't played it? And that's the world. That's the piece I'm still missing. So building a community, that's the piece Rob is still trying to figure out, even as we go now. I can't tell you how many people strongly, I'll use the word strongly because some of them were pretty hateful, suggested that you cancel your campaign on the first day or the second day or the third day. You're never going to be a success. Dude, I am a success. I'm a success just because I clicked that go button in the first place. I put myself out there. Everyone who hits that go button is a success. Whether they fund or don't fund, they're a success because they did something. They took action. They're doers. They're just not sitting back and whatever. They're doers. And so I applaud everyone who's ever had a successful and non-successful campaign.
So
I applaud you. You're sicker than a dog. We've been trying to talk for the last 2 days, and you're like, I can't stop coughing. But yet we're still here today because you're a doer.
Right. You guys don't know this, but I'm actually muting myself every time I'm coughing. That's why Rob stops talking for a moment, because I'm coughing in his ear.
That's the behind-the-scenes technical peek.
That's right. So my question with what you actually just talked about, especially with your mailing list and your Facebook boost.
Yes.
In today's world, we have the informed backer, which wasn't a part of Kickstarter, about 2 years ago. Even last year, they weren't as informed as they are now. Do you feel that you did enough to build that trust between the informed backer and your campaign? Or do you feel that that was the biggest thing or biggest major hurdle you're having to experience?
Yes, I did not do enough to cater to the informed backer. But the informed backer needs to meet new guys in the middle somewhere. And they're informed, but they're sometimes misinformed. And so I'll explain that, because I don't want that to sound like a negative as much as it does. I did not do a good enough job there. My guys on the road, the people that I met that just fall in love with this, if I could touch 1 million people, I'd get 1 million backers. I guarantee it, because that's just the way it works. That's the way this game plays. That's the way it sucks you in, and it provides you a different experience. However, the informed backer has preconceived notions. They have preconceived notions that a first-time creator can't possibly create a good game. I would tell you that you're not buying a Kickstarter. I'm a super backer. Not one time has a Kickstarter showed up in the mail. A game has, a pencil made out of beer barrels has, a special thermos has, because I back all kinds of stuff on Kickstarter. Most of it are in the games world. But the Kickstarter backer that says a first timer can't create a good game. Ginger Snap just created a great first time game. I don't know his background, but he's a first timer. $100,000 in the first 3 days. Congratulations to those guys. I think they're based out of Utah. I think I saw their game actually on the road at one of the conventions somewhere. Ignite, I think was the name of it. Anyway, first timers can do it, and so the informed backer needs to evolve with the industry. There are a lot of Robs out there. There are a lot of guys that have great game ideas that don't get it on Kickstarter because they're afraid. They don't get it on Kickstarter because they're just this much off and they don't have that missing piece. That missing piece could be economics. It could be marketing prowess. It could be process refinement. It could be any one of those business acumens that various people have. And Joe Boyden, Uncle Joe's Games, fantastic series of games. Doesn't have a Kickstarter, doesn't put them out there. He's doing it the old school way. Let me talk to as many game companies as I can, and maybe someone will take my game and run with it. You know, if he could get out there and have that courage to click the button, then he might find success, right? So the backer needs to meet these new guys halfway. If they don't, and they're not right now, okay? And I'll tell you how I know that for a fact. Look at every game. They're all the same colors. They all have 55 different boards. They're all spread out over the entire. I get a lot of slack for being a 6-foot game. Every game I see takes 6 feet. By the time you put all of the sideboards and little chips and chokins and all this stuff everywhere, I call it game spew. Once they spew that out on the table, they look the same. They all look the same. I get Spielbox as a professional in the industry. There's a magazine called Spielbox, and it ain't cheap. It's like $60 a year for Spielbox because it's written in German, translated to English, and then sent over here. So Essen and things like that, they're very familiar with the Spielbox. I get Meeple Monthly. You can flip through these and see the same color hues, the same kind of games, and that's because that's what our backers are buying. They're buying the same thing. And what's happening in that relationship? They're playing it 2 or 3 times, and they put it on the shelf. Or they're playing it 4 or 5 times, and they're putting it on the shelf. They spent their $60, their $40, their $80, and it sits on the shelf. And that's the norm. That's the expected norm. I would tell you, if you could only drive your car 4 or 5 times, you probably bought the wrong car, right? If you bought a bicycle and you never use it, you probably didn't need to buy the bicycle. I tried it once and it just wasn't that good. So that the backer needs to evolve. And I'll give you another example on the backer. We are, and this is all raw, right? So raw and live. We rely on the reviewers too much. The reviewers are paid mafia, and some reviewers are fantastic, and some reviewers who we think are fantastic don't give the regular guy the time of day, and that's so frustrating. It's so saddening to me because I've experienced it. That some well-known reviewers just won't give you the time of day, and the backers don't realize that is a paid experience. I suggest you go out and buy this game as a paid experience. Not always. There are a lot of mid-range reviewers and lots of lower reviewers. But then if you utilize those guys, then you're accused of, well, you didn't really go get any reviews. You didn't get any reviewers. I went to the court of public opinion and got 13 conventions and hundreds of thousands of eyeballs on my game It still didn't translate into sales. But yet, if you could be so fortunate enough to get gifted in to certain reviewers, pay them their $1,000 or their $600 or whatever. And for me, it wasn't about the money. I got plenty of money. That wasn't the case. Just getting in to show them, because even the reviewers are scared of something new. While the backer needs to evolve, the reviewers need to evolve. This is coming from a business guy from the outside in who just sees this from a different perspective. And the guys like the Brawling Brothers, they said, Rob is as genuine as the day is. And I love those guys. I appreciate them. Berkey from Game Toppers reaches out to me constantly. What can I do to help you? Michael from Pentree Games reaches out to me. What can I do? He messaged me today. What can I do to help? What can I do to help? There are real people out there. We need to lift those real people up, because I tell you, most gamers are real people. I've been at the conventions. I know them. I've met them. They're real people, but they need to evolve. They need to evolve a little bit in the way that they back people. Hasbro doesn't really need your money, right? Hasbro might make a great couple of games. That's cool. Some of these big guys aren't doing it right. It's just a reskin. It's the same old thing, and we just automatically, we're lemmings. We're walking off behind the next guy. I'm going to click the button, yes, because all my friends did. That fear of missing out, right? I even created a pledge level, fear of missing out plus. My fear of missing out plus cost me money. It's $20. I'm including a $25 discount towards a reprint of our game, and I'm including some of my prototype pieces in a box. I'm sending them out to you. So now you've got a piece of history for free, basically, because you got $25 off with your $20 FOMO pledge. But even that didn't get enough traction. Some of my marketing professionals said, oh yeah, that's perfect. That's going to be revolutionary. It's not revolutionary. Our Kickstarter backer isn't necessarily ready for revolutionary. They say they are, but they're just not. They're not showing it to people. There's a game. It had a bit of table spew. I don't know the guy. Centius, I think it was some game set in ancient Rome. But you know, there were a lot of cool little things inside that big game that probably made it absolutely worth the money. He didn't have a successful campaign. I wish him luck on a relaunch. I don't even know if he's going to relaunch. But there are those games out there. If we all evolve, I'm going to evolve as a game developer, as a game promoter, as a game designer. I'm going to keep evolving, because people are going to start copying the things that I did. So I need to keep creating new things that are even better. And I hope, I pray actually, that Lord willing, that the community comes around and says, you know what? Yeah, I get it. I hear what he's saying. We live in first of all, there are no trophies for participation. No one's going to send me a trophy because I failed at my Kickstarter. So whether I fail or don't fail, we still got 3 days. There are no trophies for participation. It is a top line level industry. You either succeed or you don't. And that's tough. If you're a professional football player, you could go 0-16 and cash that $20 million check. If you're a crappy politician, you could swear allegiance to every constituent and then show up and do nothing for what you were elected to do, and you still have your job. Game designers need your support because it is a top level industry. It's success or don't succeed. If you don't succeed, they may leave. And what are we going to be left with? A bunch of the same old stuff that looks the same, table spew, it's the same colors, the same side, everything, and like I just said earlier.
Right. Okay, so you've actually brought up some really good points, and we're going to convert this from question and answer to a discussion, because okay. I thought there was some good topics, and I have some thoughts and opinions as well. So first off, what you said was that, you know, Facebook was not where, you know, a majority of your backers come from. True. That is so true. Yeah. I actually pulled some numbers, and in the first 48 hours, your Facebook backer rate typically on a successful campaign is between 35 and 40% of a backer rate. Then by the end of the campaign, the backer rate that comes from Facebook drops to about 30 to 25% of total backers. So why is Facebook important? And I want you guys to consider this for those who are wondering why marketing is so important, especially for Facebook, in those first 48 hours, is because they are your initial push to get funded. That's how important those backers are. And that's why building trust on Facebook is important. And something, Rob, you said you had troubles with because of the informed backer needs to change their mind. I would like to disagree with you only shortly, because of the fact that while yes, there is some preconceived notions with those big publishers, you also have to remember you yourself have to build trust with those backers, and paid post is not the best way to do that. I hate to say that, but it's not.
No, it's not.
What is the better way to do it is to be active on every single board game community, talking to those 31,000 backers, making posts that want them to go to your business page to inquire, and then build trust and relationships that way. Like you did face to face, you basically have to do the same thing on Facebook. Because I
would agree with you.
If you don't build that relationship where people are constantly interested in what you're selling, because you're not selling the game.
Right.
You're selling yourself. And if people can't trust you through adverts and through social media, you're going to miss out on that 40% of 48-hour backers.
I would say that if I may, that importance of that first 48 hours, Jamie, again, I'll reference Jamie because he's a bellwether, right? He's a spotlight that we all look to, especially when you're trying to run a campaign. Jamie just did a post maybe 10 days ago. Is the industry changing where you don't have to be successful in that first 48 hours? I think you still have to be successful in that first 48 hours. We weren't, why. We weren't, and that's tough. Here's what happens. I mentioned earlier the trolls. I think I led with the trolls and the venom and the hate that I see. I didn't get a lot of it on the campaign because you have to pay to participate, right? So some of those trolls probably don't even have credit cards, to tell you the truth, and so they're not posting there, but they are posting on the social media side. And so I did a significant amount of management on my social pages for OverBattle and the company, taking down some pretty venomous things. Here's what happens. I read a story, and it took a couple of days to sink in. And here's a takeaway about being engaged, super engaged. You just can't be engaged on your campaign. You need to be super engaged. The trolls will fill a vacuum. If there is nothing going on, that's when the trolls will come in. If your backers are communicating and talking amongst themselves, and you're communicating, and I do a post every day or so in there, and that's not enough. The trolls fill the vacuum, and so you can't provide. You have to take away that vacuum. So there's a takeaway for everyone watching who's going to run a campaign. Find a way to stay absolutely engaged constantly to eliminate that potential vacuum, because they're going to fill the vacuum. I have a friend out of Florida, did a $90,000 Kickstarter on a game that I think is probably too difficult for me for a card game, but it's beautiful art and that kind of thing. And he was posting all the time, like all the time, and watching, like, man, it just comes across as spam to me. And from the business guy in me, it comes across as spam. And so I didn't do the same thing. But who's successful in their campaign? He was successful in his campaign. I am not. So you can't have a vacuum. That first 48 hours is absolutely critical. And by your numbers, 40% of the Facebook backers in the first 2 days end up in the low 20s at the end of the campaign. You got to have that 40%.
Right.
And when you're a sole guy running the show, you can ask your partners to jump in there, but they've got to do it. If it's a team effort, it's a team effort, because there's too much for one dude or one gal to accomplish. There's just too much. There's too many things, and especially most people have jobs and full-time jobs and that kind of thing. But I hear you on what you're saying in terms of that engagement. Never once does someone message me that I don't respond. Never once is there a post that I don't respond to. Some posts I'll respond to and then I'll hide them. So the person who posted it sees my response. He'll know that he or she'll know that I responded to him. But if it was negative, it doesn't need to be on my business page, because I'm just not a negative guy. Although some of this stuff has some negativity to it, it's not the case. What is it? James Matthew, that guy's awesome, because he just tells them how it is. Go read the FAQs, go look at my stuff, because the same question gets asked over and over and over. And I don't know that all of us have it in us to always answer that same question over and over and over. Right. But that is engagement. And what you're talking about is engagement, correct?
Right. And it's not just engagement during the campaign. It starts 3 months, 6 months beforehand. And, that is why some people hire these supposed marketing experts to do it.
Guilty.
But unfortunately, unless they are you, they're not going to pitch your game as best as you can.
We hired a marketing expert, right, and the marketing expert took off with our money. So
I didn't want to dive into that, but if you feel comfortable enough, let's talk about that.
I won't use names.
Okay.
I won't use names, but we've had some very in-depth conversations, my marketing people and I, and every time I feel like, okay, we've turned a corner, and every single time it's right back to the same absence, right back to the same thing. And I felt like, so I spent $5,000 on a marketing campaign. And while they did little things, they didn't do $5,000 worth of things. They didn't do $2,000 worth of things. And there's a lot of people that don't have $5,000 to put out there. Mm-hmm. And I felt like when the person, when he or she would call me and apologize, Rob, I let you down. Okay, so I can't fix yesterday, but we still have a campaign. I got a call 2 hours before launch, 2 a.m. I launched at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 a.m. East Coast time. I get a call at 2 a.m. Man, I let you down. Well, no shit. It's 2 hours before launch. Yeah, no shit. You let me down. I can't fix yesterday. I've already got a new site that's not really good, but it's something, and we're moving forward. And what do you think? And I show it to them. Yeah, it looks okay. And it wasn't okay. So if you can't trust what you're hearing and they run off with your money, then you're left in a predicament. You pay for, when you're hiring a marketing person, a marketing firm, because I failed at that, it's on me. I'm the one who hired them. I'm the one that hired that firm. And they know they called and apologized 3 separate times. But nothing ever happened. And so I'm the one who felt that I was scammed. And then I'm embarrassed. I'm a business guy. Man, I can't believe I threw $5,000 away. I can't believe that the accumulation of all this work teeters on this one piece, and then that piece is missing. What happens? You can't complete the puzzle. You put the puzzle together for 9 months, and you've got it all laid out, and you're missing one piece of your puzzle right in the middle. And you're like, oh, well, that puzzle's no good. I don't even have that one piece. I can't even frame it and put it on the wall. It's missing a piece. And so I thought I thought, it's on me. I'm embarrassed. That the first couple of days of the campaign didn't look like the quality that the game has portrayed in 9 months. But there's no participation trophies, Marco. It's on me. I'm the guy that hired him. And every time he or she ran off, I should have been more in tune. And I'll tell you, if you're going to hire a marketing person and they don't do what you're asking, or they don't follow through the script that they've provided you early on, then you have to change. You have to get on a new horse. You got to ride a new horse the rest of the way.
I can't disagree with. I agree with you more with that because of the fact that they give you an outline of what they're going to be doing for you, what their suggestions are for you to do as well, and if they don't hit within the first month or two of what is in that timeline, you need to drop them and get whatever they did not complete back to you, and spend that money.
I hired in December, and I launched in March, so 4.5 months, which is ample time. Ample time for Rob. You need to be in this community. You need to be working on this. I'm going to be working on that. Let's do this together. The problem is, and it sounds stupid, and everyone's going to scream at the screens and say, of course you don't. Don't do that. Don't pay in advance. They provided me 2 rates, a pay in advance rate and a pay by the hour rate. And son of a gun, if I didn't pay in advance, and just get screwed. And then I'm embarrassed. My campaign suffers. It's not the $5,000. It's the loss of potential. Where could we be? Daniel Zahas says, man, your game is magical. It's magical. There's just something there that's special. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can never get my $5,000 back from these people, much less really what they've damaged me for.
Right. So I have a few comments real quick that I want to read. I have two. Michael Petrie says, you did the best you could do at launch, and he's proud of you. And Ian Whitecastle says, yeah, if you know something is not working, you definitely need to correct the problem.
Yep. And I thought it was because I'm proud, right? I'm outspoken. I'm strong. Man, I let myself get screwed. I let myself get scammed. I let myself down because I'm the person that hired these guys. Come to find out, it's happened over and over and over and over again with others. And then we have this come to meeting of the minds. I'm driving back from Boston, and we spoke for 2.5 hours. By the time I left Ohio to the time I got to Indiana, we spoke for 2+ hours on the phone. And they went over each scenario of these other individuals and why their story isn't quite what we see in public, and why this story isn't quite what we see in public, and why this story wasn't quite what we see in public. And after 2 hours, and I'm listening to all that, and that's all fine and dandy, that's not my story. I gave you the money up front, and where are you? Michael's wife is Michael Petrie, who just commented, hey, Michael, Christina is a fantastic artist. And, they looked at my Kickstarter page on that first day, and they're like, it's okay. It's okay. But it just wasn't okay. And I appreciate their input because they know the backstory. They, too, have been involved. It's tough, man. It's tough when someone in our community steals from people in our community. That's tough.
And the way that this correlates to our discussion, our topic is this all has to be, this is all about building a community. And
Yes.
that's what Rob had hired this person to do for him, was build his community. And that was a big lack. So please be cautious of any marketing person. Like Rob said, never pay up front. You know,
Never.
pay by the month. You know, come to a plan that is, you know, oh, you know, we're going to hire you 6 months in advance, but we'll only pay you every month up until your date, or have a plan where it's, because I know some marketers do this, which is, I don't accept money unless you fund. Daniel Zayas is one of those who, if he does your marketing, he doesn't accept money unless you fund. If you didn't fund, that means he didn't do his job correctly. Which that comes into a little bit more risky of a situation, because there is no guarantee they're going to work for you.
Right.
Because at the same point, if they don't believe in your project, they're not going to work as hard as another person, because there's nothing on the line.
I would get just enough that I feel like, okay, we've turned the corner. Just enough that I feel like, man, all right, he is trustworthy. She is trustworthy. They are going to help me. Thank the Lord that they're finally come around. And then poof, they're gone again. Introductions that were made, some of the were fantastic, and I'll carry those relationships with those individuals for the rest of my life. But there are other things. We did a landing page. Mark paid for a landing page, and they finally got a landing page up. Had the wrong URL, and I said, change the URL to my URL. And ultimately, I ended up doing a forward from my URL, because even that simple request goes untouched, unfixed. Simple things like, why would I want to brand a URL that's not my URL? It doesn't make any sense. And you're the marketing guy, it doesn't make any sense. So when you feel that something's awry, trust your spidey senses. Trust those spidey senses. They're telling you something's not right. And I had the money, and the sucky thing is, I've got the money. I could have bought another round with someone else, which I've done, but I've done so in the middle of a campaign while it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Right, and that actually relates to why the first and 48 is so important. For those
Absolutely.
who haven't run their first campaign yet, or have, you guys know why the first 48 is so important. It's not because it gets you all the money up front. No, it's actually about your kick track numbers. That's why it's so important, because most backers that you're going to get are not from social media. They're from Kickstarter themselves. And Kickstarter backers look at the top 10. That's who they pay attention to. I think it's like 60 or so % look at the first 10 on launch day and afterwards. So if you are not maintaining that position, your campaign gets lost. Especially if it drops below 15, you are going to see little to nothing until the last 48. And that's what you don't want. And that's why, the Facebook community and campaigns are so important, because they get you up there and then it sustains you, because you want to keep pushing that marketing to get that few little ticks up every day of views and money spent towards your campaign, which then keeps your numbers up. That's the importance of it. Sorry for cutting you off. I wanted to make that note for people who haven't run a campaign yet. We have another comment from Joshua Fry, who said, Quest of Gaia is right there with you. I have had the same weakness, brother. Rise from the ashes like a phoenix. You now have a tiny base. Keep building. And Van Overby Bay says, I thought Rob's Kickstarter campaign redesigns look really good. You did a great job, especially with the workload during the active campaign.
Thank you. Let me talk about that just a bit. The campaign page that I started with and the campaign page that we have now are 100% different, from font to color to graphic to everything, and that is on purpose. And here's what I pray every night. I pray for a lot of things, a lot of people, sick people. I pray every day about a lot of things. I pray that I'm given guidance and success, and you don't want to pray for success, but you know what I mean. Anyway, how many times traditionally do we get to make a first impression? We get one time to make a first impression, right? Kickstarter has this very unique ecosystem where people can click on the remind me button and they go away, they disappear for 28 days, potentially a month. They're gone. They don't see you, they don't know you, they're gone. However, in that last 48 hours, Kickstarter reminds them, hey, by the way, you clicked on this to be reminded, and we're giving you that reminder now. I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are just watching, waiting for that reminder to come back and see my page at the end of the campaign. And so what I did is I tried to, and thank you for noticing, Van, good luck on your campaign. I was a backer. I was a backer of your campaign as well, and he of mine. When they come back, Marco, they're going to see a completely different experience. They're going to see a completely different marketing approach. And I hope that I get a second opportunity to make a first impression, if that makes any sense at all.
It does. And,
okay.
And that's right. That's why the first 48 and the last 48 are so important, is because it's those notifications.
Yeah. It's a very unique ecosystem that we have.
Mm-hmm. Now, the next thing I want to discuss is your comment about reviewers.
Yes.
And I am probably one of the most actively vocal person or people out there on the reviewer media groups, especially when it comes to reviewers and Kickstarters. In my opinion, there is actually no reviewers for Kickstarter campaigns. And you guys may disagree with me on this, and that's okay. We're all entitled to our own opinions. But this is why I say that, is because most reviewers on Kickstarter are getting payment in some form or fashion.
Yes.
There is nothing or no way you can't say that, because of they're either getting a game that they're keeping, they're getting the notoriety from the publishers to keep working with other publishers, or
now,
they're
Marco,
getting
these
physical
are your
more.
words. They're not my words. Go ahead.
These
Preach
are
it, brother.
these are my words, because I actually used to be a reviewer and now I'm a previewer, and there's a big difference. And we're not going to go into that, but I'm going to talk about reviewers when it comes to Kickstarters. So there's those three forms of payment, and those that say I get nothing for it, that's completely untrue, because a reviewer who does reviews for a Kickstarter campaign has a very hard time saying this is a bad game. And this is the reason why. There's not many designers out there. There are more reviewers than there probably are actual designers. If you look at all the different types of new reviewers that come out there. And for us to get content, we have to give favorable reviews. That's just, it's point of fact. When it comes to Kickstarter, the leading discussion is that if you don't like a game, you don't tell the people why you don't like a game. It is, you just say this game is not for me. And that is the worst thing you can say, in my opinion, because it gives no critical analysis that these campaigns need, so they can't be trusted. I
mentioned earlier, if I may, the Spielbox magazine that I get from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Those comments inside that some of them are brutal, and I don't know if it's because of the German to English translation, or they're actually that brutal. But they also they provide this scoring thing, and I'll go with Jamie again, bless his heart. What is it, Charterstone, something like that, one of his games? There was like 3s and 4s and 6s, and I'm thinking, he's a 9 and a 10 always in my mind. And they're 3s and 4s and 6s, and so I was like, whoa, these guys are rough. But we live in a society that digests snippets. We don't take in the entire thing, right? So whether it's news reels, whether it's watching television, you name it, they break it up in commercials because we can only take so much. It's a snippet. We can only digest and internalize snippets. My comments earlier are going to be taken out of context with a snippet when they're tied to your comments. Well, we're in 100% agreement, aren't we? Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. But I'll be the bad guy, and that's okay. I still love reviewers, but I wish that they too would evolve.
Right.
And just say, you know what, the game's not that good. It's broken here, here, and here. That's fine. If the designer wants to fix it with that information, that's on the designer, right? That's our job as designers to do. If I want to keep pushing it forward exactly as it is, that's my choice. But as a reviewer, I called them paid mafia. My apologies. They are paid, and they're reviewing, and it's tough.
Well,
when I was accused of not having enough reviews, I got the court of public opinion. I went to thousands and thousands of people publicly. Pick it up, smell it, taste it, bang it on the table. Do what you want to do with it. How is that not as equally as valuable as a reviewer? And I got a lot of venom poured on me. You don't have enough reviewers. You know, Michael Wright, good dude, solid dude. When we went to his house, I don't know if many people know this. I went to his house and played a live playthrough for 3.5 hours. We set up the cameras in his backyard. It's cold outside. We set it up in his backyard because OverBattle's big. It's bigger than his review space. And we played that. Guess what he charged me for that? Not a dime. $0. Props to you, Michael Wright. Not a dime. Did I use Michael for a paid review many months later? I absolutely did. But he brought me into his home for 3.5 hours, played my game. Ferdinand the Cardboard Stacker was right there, played with us for free. For free. That 3.5 hours is unsolicited, real gameplay, unpaid for. The work Michael does on his reviews, I think, is solid. You know, it's solid. But those are paid reviews. You gotta pay the bills, right? But there are some reviewers do things in different ways, and Michael's one of those guys. Right. He does it differently, and he's growing because of it.
There was a comment here from Michael Petrie. He says,
"Hey, Michael."
He said, "So are they previewers?" Yes and no. Is my comment there. There are those who are actual previewers, and that's what us at BGR do. We don't give any opinion. The moment we give opinion is the moment it turns into a review, and then it's paid, and then it's biased, because it's paid for. So there are those that do previews, which are strictly marketing campaigns. They are for marketing purposes only. And then there are reviews, which are critical analysis. You have to understand that they have to have critical analysis to it, and unbiased critical analysis, where they give equal pros and cons, and then tell you why they came to that conclusion. If they don't do that, and you will see a lot of reviewers out there who say that they do Kickstarter reviews, who will rave about a game, but will not give critical analysis. And that is what me and Robert, I think, are on the same page about. And the reason why they don't do so is a lot of the times, even if they don't get money, it's because of fear of the designer and publisher. I don't think a lot of publishers understand this, but if us as reviewers in the Kickstarter world start giving bad reviews, we stop getting reviews. We stop getting work. It's as simple as that. I don't think you guys realize that, but it does happen.
And that's where I was talking about the backer needs to evolve.
Right.
That's exactly my point on the backer. Is I was told by so many people, you don't have enough reviews. I have the court of public opinion. That's a huge court. There's hundreds of thousands of ticketed people came to see my product and reviewed it with their own eyes. And I paid for that too, right? You pay for a booth, you pay to go to those environments. I had Michael with me at one of them, PAX Unplugged. Michael in Philly came, and he told me a great place to eat at the market across the street. But nevertheless, that's what I was saying about the backer needs to evolve. The backers need to understand those previews, those reviews. There's money being exchanged, and if you trust those 100%, they need to educate themselves a little bit. And then there's a place for all of it. There's a place for all of this.
Well, I don't think it's just a backer understanding, especially when it comes to preview, review, overview. I think it's the industry as a whole, because for the longest time, those words were used so interchangeably that it didn't matter what you called it because it all meant the same thing.
I tell you what, brother, if I've got something broke, tell me, because I'm going to fix it.
Right.
I don't want something out there. The reason my game gets so raved responses is because I've taken that feedback every single time and made a better game. Isn't that what we really, really want?
Right.
So, yeah, if you're fearful of that, then nothing works, right? We're broken. We've got this wagon wheel, and it's missing half of its spokes, and it's just barely making it around every time, and we can't make it across the country on a broken wagon wheel. And so I don't have big enough shoulders by myself to fix the industry, right? Because some people tell you the industry is not broken. It is in various ways, and this is an outside businessman coming in and showing you that it is. And I've mentioned guys by name, great individuals. They see it, they understand, and they are doing their part to make a better world for all of us. Believe the truth. Believe in those truths and provide support to those people that are absolutely trying. I want to create the best possible game. If it's too big on the board, well, that's why the board's quartered and modular, so you can use a smaller table. I thought about those things. We talked about that a month ago, the different things that we've built into the game based specifically on feedback. And the reviewers, the designers, asking for negative feedback. If you're not strong enough to take some negative feedback, get out of the business.
Right. And
there's too many of us anyway. Get out of the business.
Like I don't do reviews anymore, but even as a previewer, when I am learning a game, I'll talk to the designer. I will go and say, hey, I think there's something broken here. Even though that's not my place. Because if I see something especially as a new game hitting Kickstarter that needs improvement, that's my responsibility, because they've given me and built into me trust
I think so.
to work on their product. It's not just about making just the marketing campaign. No, it's about helping them to fulfill their dream. And if I see a problem and I don't say anything, I am just like everybody else. So, oh, you're doing great. It's wonderful. But, I mean, you can't. So I have a few comments here. So Van Overbay asked, for Rob, how many full prototypes did you put together for previews, reviews, and or giveaways?
I have 14, Van. 14. And we talked about this on some other podcasts, and I'm going to reach across here. Give me just a second. So each box has 250 pieces, right? There are 140 play parts, 140 individual play parts that are mechs and tanks and spaceships and that kind of thing. And then there's 4 colors. There's yellow, blue, brown, and red, okay? This takes 4.5 days to produce. 4.5 days. 4 of those take about 22.5 days to produce. I have 14 complete games, including professionally done game mats, right? Absolutely pristine, perfect, you name it, 14. That took a month a piece, 22 days a piece, just to produce the parts. If you do the math, Van, that's 11 months. I produced pieces for 11 months straight, running nonstop. I do my own 3D prototyping. I was written up by 3D Raise 3D magazine. They put me as a case study on how we do rapid prototyping. I mentioned earlier that if you have an improvement for me, let me know. The bomber that's in this box has gone through 3 different revisions based on consumer feedback. And I'll just print more. I'll just recreate more. I know your game, Van, and you've got this new wheel thing. It's going to be expensive, but I look forward to it if you decide to do it. Your art is great. Focus on the art. Provide that visual buy-in, that visual experience with your game. I think it'll be just as well served. But I created different sizes of this exact ship 3 separate times after I've been at conventions because I had to get it right. And those take an hour a piece just to print one little guy. So 14 test sets, 22 days of test set, 11 months to get everything that I needed. For me, the Brawling Brothers did a couple of reviews. They played the game 4 times. They spent 20 hours at the table playing OverBattle. And they said, Brandon Knoll says, if Rob gets this funded, we're looking at his game for Game of the Year. I didn't say that. He said that. That knocked me down. I'm like, oh my goodness. To have someone professionally say that meant the world to me, right? But they commented time and time again how beautiful the game is on the table. For me, it was important to have the absolute best experience that a consumer can have pre-production. We could do cards with our stuff on it that would be just paper, and I could use a marker and I could write it in there, right? We could do that. We've all seen games at Protospiels that are exactly like that. For me, that didn't cut the mustard. So I had to have a game that was absolutely immaculate from the get-go, and then I would change the pieces as we went. Cassie, she's going through 3 different revisions. Originally, Cassie was this big, and it was a single space, and it looked like something out of Mars Attacks. It was fantastic. Made out of clear Lexan, built it in the garage. But we've gone to different revisions to get Cassie the multi-tier combat board to where she is today, and it's been out there and it's been publicly received. I posted 30 plus photos yesterday of all the convention photos, and you can see Cassie at the end of the table, multi-tier battle board. So as you're producing your games, all of you, I know Michael Petrie was on here earlier. His game On the Rocks looks fantastic. They spend a ton of time doing exactly what I've done in creating a prototype that looks like it came off the shelf. I would encourage people to do that. If you can't, get out of the business. I'm just saying, everyone talks about the glut of games and the glut of there's so many people coming in, and it's the Wild West, right? The Wild West started because of the gold rush, because everyone came in to try to get their piece of the gold. It'll dry up, and it'll dry up because there'll be so many things. That's why so many games look the same, why so many have the same color, the same table spew. They're the same. Little twist, same game. Little twist, same game. Build great prototypes. Spend the money to build great prototypes. And I would hope that you will be rewarded. I'm personally rewarded. I've not been rewarded on our campaign yet, but I have faith. I have hope. I have prayers. And I know it's a good game. And I know everyone that ever sits down says it's a good game. I know every reviewer and previewer and non-paid person who's played it says it's a good game. Spend your time, Van, to create. I know you're working on your sets. Look at Michael Petrie's from Pintree Games. Look at his games that he's put together, his prototypes. Look at my prototypes. If it looks like it came off the shelf, you've done a good job. Right. And if we all did that, we've all done a good job. And if you can't do that, then maybe you should partner with someone who can. That will allow some attrition to occur, will allow some unification to occur, and now we can get better at what we're trying to do as well. There's a lot of stuff out there. You and I can go look on Kickstarter and see games that are funded at $10,000 and $8,000, $6,000, and they need $50,000 to produce. That money will never see the light of day. Solar City funded at $68,000, and just yesterday they said, the guy ran out of the country. With $68,000, where the hell are you going to go? That's not a whole lot of money, really, folks. That's not a lot of money. But the guy left the country, and they said, we're never going to produce this game. If you back Solar Cities, you're SOL. $64,000 down the drain. And it was pretty much different color, but everything else was the same as all the rest of the games that are out there. So, Van, I spent a month a game, 14 games.
All right, so next comment. And I think that was terrific information that you gave for Van. Josh, I'm not going to attempt your last name. He says, I saw Rob's booth at PAX East, and it was absolutely packed. So there's a point to what Rob is saying about backers, which is true. Then Joshua Fry says, people always say games are always too big and too long, Rob. My game is 2 hours, 0 for 5 players, and to me that is a nice medium length. But to others, it's an eternity, which is true.
Yep.
You know, depending on the type of gamer there are, some gamers are going to love games that are only 30 minutes to an hour. Others want, games that are 2 hours plus.
The guy's name's Josh? His name's Josh?
That one was Joshua Fry.
Joshua, hey, can I respond to Joshua?
Yeah.
Okay, so Joshua, congratulations on a game. And a 2-hour game is probably a nice, solid game. It's not a throwaway game. Certainly doesn't sound like just one of those mini party games that we see out there now. So that's nice, man. My game is an hour a player. I promote it as an hour a player, so 2 players 2 hours, 4 players 4 hours. I've actually got a 5th player expansion that doesn't change the time. That's going to be our unique selling proposition. Add an entire player, don't change the length of the game. Wait till you see how that one works. That's a mind blow. But professionals have played my game. The Dukes of Dice played for the very first time. They played at Rory's place in Albuquerque, New Mexico, called the Board Game Library. Hello, Rory, if you're watching. Folks at the Board Game Library, hello. And a shout out to my marketing guy and gal who I'm having the troubles with. They introduced me to that place too. So again, there are little snippets of goodness. Nevertheless, the Dukes of Dice on the Dice Tower Network played my game. I tell them it's a 4-hour game. They finished an entire game in 2 hours and 45 minutes. And so I would tell you that when you put your time out there, don't overestimate what people can do. I say it's a 4-hour game. Some people may settle into a 6-hour game. However, that all being said, I had people sit and watch for 4 hours. Watch strangers play a game that they've never seen for 4 hours. Why is that? That only happens because of the immersive experience. Van Overbay's got his game is about pirates, and it's about real pirates. It's got the technologies and things that they actually used in the pirate time, right? And so he went a long ways to make it real. If you can make it immersive, time no longer matters. My time doesn't matter. I get time and time again, no pun intended, people tell me, I don't even realize 3 hours have gone by. If you can get someone to that spot, you have succeeded. And we've done that. When you dive into OverBattle, it looks huge. Ferdinand, the cardboard stacker, Ferdinand said, this is big. And then by the time we were done, he's like, I felt like I was only in this little space. I need more space. I want to play another round. I don't even want to stop yet. If you can make it immersive, if you can put them into an experience, they're going to come away loving your game. And then time doesn't matter. And if you can do that, Joshua, you've turned your 2-hour game. Now your next game could be 3 hours. It could be 4 hours. And they're not going to care at all because they're going to love the fact that you took them somewhere else. You provided them not a game. you put them into an experience. And that's what we've built. That's what we try to preach. And I know I'm doing a lot of soapboxing, but I'm passionate about changing the industry, changing buyers' perceptions, getting support for my game, support for your game, support for Van's game, support for Michael Petrie's On the Rocks, which looks fantastic. Create an experience, and the time no longer matters. Right. Go ahead.
No, that's absolutely true. So continuing on with the comments, we have a little bit more time left. So Van says, I think it's awesome when you are the designer and creator. It's difficult, but has a unique and unparalleled passion in every aspect of the project and product and project. Awesome.
Thank you.
Then he says, Michael.
I do have a development team.
Oh, okay.
My guys help. They're going to tell you, Rob, if you're 95%, we're 5%. But I still appreciate them more than they know for the percentages that they give me. But it's my baby. I'm going to own it. I spent all the money on it. I'm the guy. When it fails, I'm the guy. When it succeeds, I'm the guy. But I do have a great group of developing partners that provide that logical input that I can bounce things off of. And so there's a percentage there, and I don't want to steal that from them. Go ahead.
All right. So next we have actually continuing with Van. He said Michael's game looks killer. So does Josh Jackway says they both like the look of On the Rocks. And then Van next says he has 5 prototypes for previews/reviews. I want to make a statement to you, Van, about that. It's not about the quantity of reviews, previews that you have. It is about who best is going to match with your game and your product. Because while you're going to see campaigns with what's they're called, Man vs. Meeple and Tantrum House on all of them. And, while that's great and all, they produce a great product, it's not for all games. You have to understand that. And you also have to just understand that you want to hit different communities. So if you're going to go with Tantrum House or Man vs. Meeple, you do one or the other. Because they're both shared communities. They're both YouTube communities. If you're going to choose between Spotlight, us, or another Facebook group, you're going to be dealing with those communities. So you want to make sure you're not hitting conflicting communities where they're overlapping so much, because you're limiting where it can go. So, and sometimes, I'm going to say this, Board Game Revolution may not be your community. And it's just going to be, you're going to have to ask those questions. Like for Rob, he offered me the game, 2 weeks ahead of time, and I had to turn him down.
I said I'd come to Dallas and play it with you.
Right, and because there was limited time, and I didn't feel like I could give him the attention that we needed, I had to turn him down. And you are going to find those that will accept everything.
I tell you, Jeremy Salinas and David there with Man vs. Meeple, same scenario. They're very, very busy individuals, very busy. I've watched them dive into some deep, deep games, and they do a good job. I think Tantrum might be Scott Delp, maybe. Tantrum is good. Their visual quality is fantastic. I don't think you could go wrong with either. But like you said, if you've got specific dollars that you only have so much finite expenses that you can spend, find that audience. And if they have the same audience, then pick one or the other. Jeremy, if you're watching, you're in Carmel, I'm in Brownsburg, brother. Let's talk. Let's get this game on your table, and let's do a review, a preview. I don't care what it is. Let's get out there and play in Indiana for sure. But yeah, you're exactly right. And to the individual who was earlier who said he saw us at PAX, thank you for mentioning that. Those are not cheap. Those are not cheap. In fact, I bought stock in PAX, the corporate company, because I see how much money they charge me, and I see how much money they bring in. So I'm a stockholder of PAX now. Thank you for spending money at PAX. But that being said, thanks for noticing us. Well, we were busy. We were very busy. And I love that. I love that. it just doesn't translate to sales for some crazy reason. But I still have hope and faith, and people are going to see this, and they're going to find a different person that they didn't expect to meet. And we'll be at the next con. I'll be at the next PAX, East, South, Unplugged. I'll be at Gen Con. Those are already committed, so we're not going anywhere. Those are big shows with big dollars. Thank you for recognizing us at that show. I appreciate it.
I do want to make one last comment about video things to people real quick, and then we're going to do our wrap-up. Also, there's no sense of getting more than 3 videos on your campaign. And I know that sounds like a weird number to get, but there's a reason for it. People don't look at anything past 2 or 3. That's just how it goes. So if you have 7 reviews or 7 previews on your campaign, that between 4 and 7 does not matter. You're going to see diminishing returns from 3 on. It's just what's going to happen. Because first off, when you put your top person up there, your very first video up there, people are going to see that and assume that's what you want them to see. And so they're going to watch it. Then they're going to be curious about what's number 2. Is it going to be any different? And if it's not any different, why should they continue clicking to 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7? So don't spend the money or don't take the unwarranted or risk of getting mass amounts for your campaign if it's not going to do what you need it to do. Keep that in mind.
There are other ways to spend those marketing dollars, which I have found out. I've got significant eyes, significant impressions on some ads now, significant numbers, huge numbers. And as a game developer, I want to bring that to other people. I want to help other people get their campaigns together, and I want to help other people launch a game. I have a company that is working as an indie publisher, and it doesn't just mean I plan on publishing my own. But to your point, you're exactly right. It's the point of diminishing return, and I mentioned earlier that we consume things in snippets, and that's it. Kickstarter will tell you how many people watch your whole video. They will tell you how many people start your video and don't complete it. My numbers are pretty good, but I used a short video. It's only like a minute and 15 seconds long. I did a short one on purpose, but they'll tell you. What they don't tell you is those nested review videos. They don't tell you what the statistics are for those. So you have no idea how many times people are clicking those or not, unless you host them out on YouTube and the person clicks and they go out to YouTube. However, that provides danger. When someone leaves your page, they may not come back. The dog may bark, the baby may cry, the doorbell may ring. And when they return to their computer, they're now on YouTube. They're no longer in Kickstarter, and they don't come back. And so there's some benefit of having your video in Kickstarter as opposed to out on YouTube. But if it were out on YouTube, at least you could see the click-through results. So for what it's worth.
All right, so I actually have a great comment here from John Kimmel, and I think it's a great thing to talk about. He said, great content. Unfortunately, in regards to the backers needs education, and the follow-up comment about not just backers, but everyone, totally agree. But in my opinion, everyone includes everyone from along the entire process. Game design, manufacturing, marketing, reviewer, previewer, distributor, retailer, including the backers, customers. You come into this thinking one thing, that you've educated yourself by talking to, over a few hundred to a few thousand, and then you start your campaign, and all of a sudden, one of the few key people or cool kids make or break your campaign.
Yep. It becomes very clicky. What's that guy's name?
There are a lot of them, but I think the term you're looking for, John, they're called tastemakers. They're the ones that have so much power, either whether it's in any of the manufacturing, marketing, preview, reviewer group, can derail someone. And it's true. In this industry, it is very true. And I hate to say this because The guy's not a bad guy at all. He's done great things for the community, but Hudson is a huge tastemaker. And if you get on Hudson's bad side, he can break you. He can break you very easily. Another one of those people is Daniel Zayas. He's another tastemaker. At Prove Your Stance, it's Rahdo. Rahdo's really the biggest tastemaker you can have. If you have Rahdo who does your game, he actually used to be called Mr. Kickstarter because every campaign he was a part of funded. So you have these tastemakers that can definitely break or make your game, and they don't need that much influence because there are so much that information out there that they can't give everything to everybody, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I know, Rob, you said trolls. Yeah, trolls can definitely be a tastemaker when they're constantly spamming you, because now it's put a bad taste into the potential backers' mouths.
I would dovetail on that, and I would say that there is a significant opportunity to harm, more so than there is an opportunity to assist. Even with Mr. Kickstarter, I didn't use Rahdo. I may look into that for another Kickstarter for sure, right? Because of his position and his influence. Daniel said my game's special and magical, right? It didn't give me the lift, but he saw it firsthand. I bought James Hudson's Grim Forest because I thought it was beautiful. I think I told you about this.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was beautiful in the box. Just the way it was put in the box, because I'm a game designer. So James, kudos to you on how you put it in the box. I don't know him. I've never spoke to him. I think I don't even know that we're friends on Facebook. Maybe we are. But what you're saying is 100% true, and the potential for damage is so great as opposed to the potential for lift. And we do walk around sometimes on eggshells. And I am a little bit different. I'm a business guy, right? I am a member of the Independent Game Manufacturers Association, IGMA. I am a member of GAMA, the Game Manufacturers Association. I've been to the GAMA trade show 2 years in a row, right? GAMA will tell everyone there that we live in a 3-tiered market. The designer gets with a publisher who works through distribution. The designer gets to a publisher who works through distribution. That's it. That's the process. Was Kickstarter in there anywhere? No. Why is that? Because Kickstarter goes from the designer to the end user. It doesn't even go necessarily from the publisher. Maybe we'll say the publisher and the designer are one and the same. They still don't go through distribution. They go straight to the end user. And so you don't see the support given as much as it could from our own industry. And I am a member. I'm a paid member of GAMA because I don't necessarily follow that 3-tier process. It doesn't mean I won't someday go to distribution. Jamie Stegmeyer doesn't do Kickstarter now. He goes just to distribution. But even our own industry turns its back on new guys like myself because I'm not in that 3-tier system of designer to publisher to distributor. Even the distributors get special deals at the trade show that as designers I don't even get, and I'm the guy putting the game into the distributor. So if you don't think it's broken on many levels, it is. And then where's the support? The fact that I'm a paying member of GAMA, I'm a paying member of IGA, I'm a paying member of Indie Game Alliance, hi Matt, paying member of these guys. There's a lot of games out on Kickstarter that have no affiliations to anybody, and those are the guys that are going to run off with your money. They're like the guy in Poland on that Solar City, run off with your money, and you never see anything. There's an area where the consumer can get smarter and can evolve. The Kickstarter backer can evolve. Look for those things. I'm spending my money to prove that we're professional, that we have these professional designations behind us. Daniel Zayas is one of very, very few reviewers that are on Kickstarter's own recommended page. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the very few that are out there. Can Daniel make you? Yeah, I probably could. Can he hurt you? Yeah, he probably could. But what you're saying and what our caller, well, we'll call him a caller, what our caller was saying, that's absolutely correct.
Right.
100% correct. This is a very good conversation.
Yeah, I'm actually going to further go along with your point you just said. I actually know of a company, a publisher, who started out on Kickstarter, and on their first game, they got actually recognized by a distributor. And the distributor wanted to pick them up. I'm not going to say the game, nor the publisher, nor the distributor, because I don't want you guys going after them. But the distributor refused to work with them because they decided that instead of letting the distributor hand out all their games, they were going to do what they told their backers they're going to do and send it out as soon as possible. So they did all of the shipping themselves. They had it all sent to their houses in the United States, and then did all of the shipping from there. Except for what was in the EU, they actually had, other people do that one. But the distributor pulled their interest in their company because of that.
Yeah, it's a three-tier structure, and they preach it. They preach it. And
so their recommendation was that on your next game, before you deliver, give it to us. And
it doesn't make them bad. It just means there's differences.
Right, but the thing is that with Kickstarter, you're cutting out the middleman. You're cutting out the distributor, and they don't like it.
Yep.
Because you have games such as Gloomhaven, who make millions and millions of dollars, and just doing distro out of wherever Isaac did it from, without distribution, and they're like, but where's our cut?
Yep.
And I think who was it? Asmodee. They're such a powerhouse when it comes to distro that they can actually break a retailer. They can break a brick and mortar store, and it has happened. Not just a brick and mortar, but also online retailer.
That's where those consumers, our backers, need to evolve. That's exactly correct, 100% correct. And I tell you what, there's some hypocrisy as well. I sat at Gamma 2 years ago in Reno, and I watched the president of a gaming company, who we all know, mid-tier gaming company, sit up there and talk about how he hates BGG, how he hates Kickstarter. Guess who has a game on Kickstarter? They do, right now. So it becomes very hypocrisy-filled. And that's sad to me. It's sad to me for so many reasons, because we're sitting here and can't get funded, and I believe that we're doing things the right way. And here these guys are telling you in a corporate setting how much they hate Kickstarter, and now they're on Kickstarter themselves. What's that tell you? Is that three-tier structure the way it is? I'm a paying member of Gamma. I can talk about Gamma. I'm a member. So support those who support you in all ways. Gamma needs to get better. They're part of the industry. Distributors need to get better. If I told my backers I'm going to do something, how dare you come behind me and say, no, we're going to do it this other way? Kudos to whoever that was that you were referencing, that they did it the right way. Absolutely kudos to them. Because being a business guy, there's a thing called business ethics, which is 100% fallacy. 100% fallacy when it's called business ethics. You know why? You're either ethical or you're not. It's not business ethics. It's just ethics. And you're either ethical or you're not ethical. And shame on this distributor for trying to strong arm this manufacturer who had promises to be kept. Kudos to the manufacturer, the independent designer who kept those promises.
All right, so we have another question from Joshua Fry. Guys, your questions are phenomenal. Thank you for asking them. We love discussing them. It says, "Hey Rob, one of the frustrations I've had with this campaign is people joining just as fast as others are losing hope and leaving. I'm curious, have you seen that and shared that frustration? Backers that won't stick it through?"
His campaign or my campaign? Can you tell what he's talking about?
It sounds like he's talking about his experience with his campaign, and if you've noticed the same with yours.
Okay, so here's what I had. Here's my answer. Yes, no, and maybe. Okay, so I'll give you both sides of that. I had a lot of people. I had people join the campaign just so they could talk about other campaigns. Talk about crap. They came to my campaign so they could talk about other campaigns right before that other campaign ended. I wasn't prepared for that type of guerrilla warfare because that's not ethical, right? So I had that. You're going to have some of that early attrition. Some of those people are going to leave. Then I had people that joined early and have just left now at the end. And I think it's because they talk about sometimes campaigns can be too long. Things happen in people's lives. Chandler from CrowdOx was just talking yesterday or the day before about how some people are living paycheck to paycheck. And I get it. I understand that. I absolutely understand that. That's tough. And so you're going to have people come in and leave early because they were agenda driven. A. B. You're going to have people that join your campaign and stick around almost to the end and then they jump out. It's probably because they had some life issues. And we all have life. Life gets in the way of life. And so that's going to happen. And then you're going to have guys. I had a backer. My game is $179. I created because consumers were asking me, hey, get a lower price point. So I got rid of some of the dice. I got rid of the cases. I don't know how you're going to put 1,000 pieces without these cases. But if you want it, that's fine. So I created a $149 pledge level. I only have 4 backers there. So I told a guy yesterday, he's like, your price is too high. I said, it's already been dropped to $149 and there's no backers there per se. People pay $200 for a $20 pair of jeans. People pay $100,000 for a $40,000 car. It's not the price. It's about how you sell it. So you're going to have people that will come in agenda driven and leave. Forget about those. You're going to have people come in, buy into your campaign, and then end up leaving because life got in the way. I pray for them. Don't forget about them. Pray for them in that scenario. Then you're going to have people, the third tier. I had a guy, I almost said his name, and I don't know if it's his real name or his Kickstarter name, so I'm not going to say his name. But he backed me at the full price. Then he changed his back to $1. Then he canceled his $1. Guess what? He just came back last week at $1, and now he's bumped it back up to the full price again. So sometimes people are going to manage their portfolio. I've got enough money for this now. Oh, I don't have enough now. Oh, I got enough money again. And it's going to come up and down. Agenda-driven folks, life-driven folks, and folks that do want to support you, they just can or can't for whatever reason. And it's just timing. It's just timing. I've had 20 backers leave. 20. That's not a lot. You say, well, it's not a lot, but I only have like 140 backers. So it's a lot in reference to those, but it's not a lot in general. And we didn't have a backer leave for over 2 weeks. Those are the things as a Kickstarter and as a designer, when you're looking for things to lift you up, when you're looking for things to give you enough courage to face tomorrow, look at those and say, you know what, I had 3 days and no one left. I got 4 days and no one left. It's been 5 days and no one left. If you go to Costco or you go to Sam's Club and you look on the back wall, they're going to have a sign up that says X amount of days since the last worker injury. They're proud of the fact that they've got 20 days, 200 days, 50 days with no worker injuries. They're promoting it internally to lift the spirits of everyone. Look, be careful because we don't want to have to change that back to zero. You as a designer and a Kickstarter person, find those little nuggets of hope and help for yourself. because you need them. And go into those and find, hey, I got 3 days and no one left. That's a win. Tomorrow, maybe it'll be 4. The next day, maybe it'll be 5. We went 2 weeks with no backers leaving, and that felt pretty good. Roughly 2 weeks with no backers, no significant backers leaving, and find those little rewards, my friend.
Right. So I also want to add on to this is you also have to remember, as designers or first-time publishers, you're competing for customers with limited money, and you're also competing with other designers. You know, the money pool is the same. It's not going to change. It doesn't fluctuate. But what does fluctuate is how many campaigns are running. So that money gets stretched thinner and thinner and thinner over time. So that's another thing you have to watch out for, is who is launching at the same time or within your time period of your campaign. Because if you are running your campaign at the same time that another project that is similar to yours is running, you're stretching out those dollars almost to its maximum, because they're going to be torn on how am I going to choose which game is better. And that actually correlates to our topic, which is build your community. Because once if you build your trust, you have the more likely chance that those backers are going to more come to you than to the other project.
I would tell you that it also dovetails back into my perception that the backer needs to evolve, because so many games are the same. If I can create something different, and we have, and a backer can understand that there is room for different, then you can find support. And that dovetails back into Marco's position earlier. How do you convince them that you're different? Through social participation is one way, for sure. And I think we go full circle. It's very interesting that we go full circle on these tangented topics, because they start to interlap one another.
Right. And so that's how, you know, I know we've given a lot of information during this topic, but it's all related, you know, because it's all about the community that you need to establish. Well, that's enough of our time today. We're almost at 2 hours, Rob. This has been a phenomenal conversation. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Design Room. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to pass on to new creators?
To new creators, trust yourself. Trust in yourself first. If something doesn't feel right, trust in your spidey senses second. I put my business knowledge aside, and I lost on that, and so I should have trusted my senses a little bit. Trust in yourself, trust your senses. And then Chandler said it yesterday. There are no losers. He did a thing. He's the CrowdX guy, which is a pledge manager, by the way, if anybody doesn't know what CrowdX is. After your campaign's over, Chandler's a good dude. He said, everyone's a winner. When you put yourself out there, you're a winner. Go out there and do it. Daniel Zejas says, every time it's an experiment. He caught some shit the other day. Pardon my French. He caught some stuff the other day. Someone saying, how come every time you have a failure, it becomes an experiment? Because it is an experiment. Life's an experiment. You go a different way to work every day sometimes because you're just bored of the same old, same old. Just put yourself out there. That's my advice. Trust in yourself and go for it. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money, and I still have trust that the community will reward us, and I know that I'll reward the community. So if you can put yourself in that same place, win, lose, or fail, you're going to be okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Rob. Have a great night. Good luck on the remainder of your campaign. That's right. And if you don't fund, good luck on the relaunch.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. And best wishes to you and your health.
All right. Thank you. Well, guys, thank you for joining me at the Design Room with Board Game Revolution and Rob McBride with OverBattle. Make sure to check out his campaign that is live right now. Also, this will be on YouTube later on in the next day or so, the edited version. So I'll cut through all the mishap at the beginning. Join me again on Thursday, where I will be talking to Endangered's designer Joseph about their game that is on Kickstarter right now. You guys have a great night.